Hi everyone, this should be the last in the series on how to use Scribe and Dragon together to create your progress notes. In this video I'm just going to put it all together and show you how I use both Dragon and Scribe together. And let's start with opening up the Scribe window. So when you open up your original progress note, it'll be like this, and you will click the Scribe tab and you'll get this double screen. Over here is the traditional progress note screen, which looks just like the version that you always use. And over here is your Scribe window, which is just blank. And this is where you're going to dictate in your free text, and then the program will transfer that free text over here into structured data. Now the program's smart, but it obviously can't read your mind, so you need to understand the syntax of the Scribe program so that the program can use what you're putting in and put it into the correct structured data. And the way of doing that is to basically use the topic heading followed by a colon and a new line, and then it'll tell you where to put it. So for example, if you were to say HPI colon next line, and we'll put that in, it will make your note over in the Scribe window look like this, and then you'll dictate and it'll know where to put that in. So for example, if we dictate in over here, the patient is a 45-year-old gentleman presenting for a follow-up of hypertension, period. And we hit Scribe it knows to put it over there. So what you can do is, because it can be annoying to say HPI colon next line, medical history colon next line, surgical history colon next line, you can create a macro command in Dragon that will just make it do that automatically. For example, when I use the command HPI, you're going to see what comes up. HPI. And you'll see what comes up is that it says HPI colon next line constitutional under HPI. And now, by doing this, the program knows to put what I'm putting under here. The patient is a 45-year-old gentleman presenting for a follow-up of hypertension. And we will hit the Scribe it button, and ta-da, that comes out over here. And the same thing will happen if I say medical history, surgical history, family history. And you can see when I say each of those things, it brings up what I'm saying, colon next line. So how do I do that? If you remember to the previous video where I told you how to make your own commands, you'll go over to your command browser and make a new command. And I already have these in, but for example, if you go over to HPI, you will have your command name as HPI, and then what comes up is what you want typed in, HPI colon constitutional under HPI colon. Same thing for social history, for example. Social history colon next line is what will come up. So it's very easy to do that, and it'll just save you some words, and you can just dictate that much faster. Now, once you finish doing all your history things, you can have it say verify all history, and what it will do is automatically check off all those little boxes that say that your history is verified. And you can create a command for that too, rather than saying verify medical history, verify medications, verify surgical history. You can just create a command macro in Dragon that is verify all history, and it'll do that. I actually have it stuck into my review systems, but if you look over here, I have verify all history here, and it will verify all my stuff. Now, when you do the review of systems, it can be a little more complicated. First of all, one thing to note is that the program is smart enough that when you dictate your HPI, if you say certain things using the admits, denies type of verbiage, it'll know to put that in your review system. So for example, if I'm dictating this way, HPI, the patient states that he's taking all of his medications as directed, period, denies chest pain, period, denies shortness of breath, period, denies abdominal pain, period, denies edema, period. And we scribe that over, it is going to go into the HPI as it's supposed to. But if we also look down at the review systems, you'll see it's kind of cool. What I set up here, it's already put it down here in the review systems. So in order to check off your boxes for coding, if you only need 2 to 9 systems to get your level 3 or 4 code, you might be sufficient just with this. However, you can also create a macro for a normal review systems, which I've done up here. So again, going back to the commands, you can create a drag and normal review systems. So when I do my review systems in the patient room, instead of having to write out in my document everything that I've said, I've just typed it all out here. So review systems, and you type your system, and you type in what you would have. Respiratory, denies cough, denies shortness of breath, etc., etc. And then when I do say that in my note, if there are any positives, I just go back and I change things appropriately. So for example, drag and normal review systems. And let's say the patient has had some anxiety. So I would just go back and admits. Do that, and then you scribe it over. Of course, I'm scribing little by little now to show you, but you would scribe it all at once when you're doing an actual note. And you'll see over in the review systems, everything comes over. In psychiatric, it has admits anxiety rather than denies. Things are going to work the exact same way for the physical exam. You can say examination, general exam under examination, and then you can say HENT, and you can give your exam, cardiovascular, and you can give your exam, or you can do it the way I do it using variable fields. So I have my commands set up here. Here's my drag and normal exam, and you'll see I have examination, colon, next line, general exam, under examination, colon, next line, and then what I've put in for each thing is a variable field, so I can just change things as needed. So I will give you an example. Drag and normal exam. And I'm going to travel between my fields to anything that I need to update. There are some scattered expiratory wheezes, but otherwise clear to auscultation bilaterally, except defaults. And you can see when you say accept defaults, it'll take away those brackets and accept your normal defaults for everything else, but your other thing is changed. And then you'll see when I scribe it over, it just puts everything exactly where it's supposed to be. So pretty nice and pretty easy. I have no idea why that says cystitis there. Let's get rid of that. I think that's from where I was playing with this before. Let's remove that. So now getting to the assessment. This is also really easy, incredibly easy using Scribe. The way I do it is I just hit this DX button, and it's going to pull up every single previous diagnosis you've ever given that particular patient, and it's also going to pull up your frequent diagnoses here. So since I'm seeing this patient for a follow-up of his hypertension and his hyperlipidemia, all you do is click on those, and it automatically pulls it right over to your Scribe window, and then you can just fill in your information. Blood pressure control is excellent, period. Continue current medications, period. He is due to have his lipids checked, period. Lab slip given, period. Follow-up with me will be in the office in 6 months, period. And you'll see when we scribe it over, and I'll scroll down here, puts it right there, your diagnosis, and this is where the notes box would be, where you're dictating into everything all at once. I don't use Scribe to do the treatment because when I'm in a patient room, I actually do the treatment plan while I'm in the room with the patient on my laptop. So what I'm doing in the room is if I'm adding any medications, I do that in the patient room, I do the labs in the room, so that's already in the computer. I'm sure there is a way to do it, but it doesn't work for the way I use the program, so I just ignore that. Now there are other ways to do the assessment. For example, you can say assessment, next line, assessment, hypertension, show list. And this is really cool because the show list command will actually bring up all of the diagnoses. And you can do it from there too. So you could just click that and your code comes up and you can go on and dictate from there. Now, on this program, I still have ICD-9 running there, and there is a patch that ECW can put through to put up ICD-10 for those codes, which will obviously be helpful. I don't usually do it this way, but you can certainly do it, and it's certainly quick if you don't want to click anything else at all and just do things with voice recognition, that's fine. And once I have that patch set up, I'll probably do it, period. So that's pretty neat and easy. Now, as far as you'll notice I said show list and it brought up that whole list of things. I could also say scribe it instead of hitting the scribe button, and that'll scribe stuff over. And the way you do that is you create new commands and you make keystroke commands instead of word commands. So you'll see if you create a scribe it command, you go down and you pull this menu down to a step-by-step command, and then the command, what you're going to do is actually press Shift plus Tab and then Enter, and this is what it'll say, and that's the code to do the scribe it. And then to create the show list command, the command is Control and space at the same time, and that'll bring up the show list if you say that. So you can see how easy it is to do your template here, and let's bring up another pretend patient here. So let's bring up Mary over here, because you'll see if you really want to put stuff together, you can create absolute full templates of an entire note, and you don't even have to do stuff in the piecemeal fashion that I just showed you. So for example, I created a template for an upper respiratory infection. And you'll see what I did here is I basically have put in every single thing that I want in that scribe window into my command, and this allows me just to scroll through things and make things super easy. So for something that's very common, like in internal medicine, like a urinary tract infection, an upper respiratory infection, a routine blood pressure follow-up, all this stuff can be put in and it makes it super easy. So let me give you an example here. Dragon URI template. And you'll see the defaults are already here, so I'm just going to scroll through these. 35-year-old woman, 4-day, cough and congestion, Delsym, Arno, Scribe it. And there you go. I mean, honestly, what more could you ask for? That took me 2 seconds to dictate an entire note for something that might have taken a couple of minutes before with God knows how many clicks. So basically, everything came up here. The review systems, which was negative because it's always negative with the cold, other than your normal stuff like you'd admit cough and congestion. The normal physical exam, and not sure why my assessment didn't come up. That did come up the last time I tried it. Hang on. Dragon URI template. There it is. And so the assessment would come up with your acute respiratory infection, and also the normal stuff that I would put in for that with the self-limited in nature aspect of these. So it's amazing how quick this can make your dictations once you really get used to this and use it to its fullest extent. So I hope this has been helpful, and that's it. Good luck all.